So, you want to hear about the story, eh? And the gameplay and the world, the settings, the characters, probably pretty much everything about the game. Ladies, gentlemen, and vault hunters of all ages, welcome to the wonderful world of Kairos and the game that is Borderlands 4. Thanks to the folks over at Gearbox, we have had access to the game for a fair bit of time before release. I have played it a ton, including experience on 3 of the 4 Vault Hunters up to level 15, and of course, much beyond that on my main character specifically, who is
Amon, the Forge Knight.
Who is the character I'm playing in our Pro and Noob playthrough series, which for anyone who wants to know is coming up very soon, and has our proper first impressions and reactions to everything in the game as well. Today, with the veil finally lifted and now we're able to talk about fully anything we want to with the game, it's time for our review. And to be clear, there will be absolutely minimal spoilers in this, nothing revealed story-wise that hasn't already been shown already in like trailers or developer footage, and generally I will keep even non-story boss encounters to an absolute minimum outside of showing you how an activity or a mechanic works. For a bit of context before we dive in then, there are 3 people on this channel who you'll hear in our videos. All 3 of us have been playing this game on different Vault Hunters. I will mostly be talking from my own experiences and perspectives, but working so closely with 2 other people who have also been playing the game, I can speak a bit from their opinions too, and what they've encountered as well, which especially matters when it comes to talking about performance and optimization, which we will be getting to in a bit. Aside from that, a little bit of background on the bias to expect from me here. I absolutely adored Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2. I love Borderlands lore. I enjoyed the pre-sequel, but I never finished Borderlands 3's main story, so I would say that I am a big fan of the concept of Borderlands, of the general formula, but also not to the point where I will keep playing a Borderlands game if I don't enjoy what I'm experiencing. With that information, I want to open up by saying I will not stop playing this game anytime soon. It hits so hard in so many areas that makes it an absolute blast to play, and it has me hooked. The synopsis of this entire review, if you're someone who enjoys a Borderlands series, is play the game. You will have a great time. It is Borderlands, and it is a very high quality Borderlands game. For everyone who wants more information, you've got the rest of this video. Moving on to a bit more detail then, let's talk about the world, Kairos, the concept of it all, the story around it, while again, noting that I am making this as spoiler-free as I can. Kairos as a concept is awesome. In Borderlands 3, we branched out into being able to travel through galaxies to planets far away, and it opened the universe up a hell of a lot. But you could argue it also made it a little bit harder to find somewhere new for a Borderlands game, because you have to have a reason for it being an impactful enough location to be a setting for the game, while also not being known enough to have been a part of the galaxy-hopping narrative of Borderlands 3. Kairos is the perfect answer, a planet that was hidden until the end of Borderlands 3. 6 years have passed since that moment, and this is when we start our story. A perfect storm of this new planet of untapped potential, high technological value, vaults that we've never seen or heard of, full of loot to plunder and monsters to kill. And probably the most important part of this new planet, being our main setting, is that the vast majority of characters that we meet and interact with are brand new, leading to fresh concepts and personalities, and just fun people to spend time around. On top of the game not having any expectations of prior knowledge from the player, from expecting them to have played previous games. It wants to stand on its own merits as an experience that works even for someone who has never played another Borderlands game. The story is more grounded than Borderlands 3 was, the villains are more meaningfully villainous and intriguing and interesting, and it feels like they were trying to capture an energy or a vibe that is much closer to Borderlands 2, and I enjoyed this. It has its ups and downs, it does feel like the tone shifts a bit at certain points, but on the whole, I've enjoyed it more than any other Borderlands game story, except for Borderlands 2. The thing that really knocked it out of the park, though, in my opinion, is the side quests. The story is the story, it's where all the big impactful events and moments happen, of course, but the side quests have such incredible personality on display. Some of my favorite characters in this entire game are only found by doing the side quests. They are nowhere else, like to the point that I don't even really want to spoil the side quests of this game other than saying that they're worth doing, and that feels crazy. But just for one of the many examples, there is a Flat Kairos side quest chain that is a clear parody of Flat Earthers, but the NPC that you interact with just has a million different insults or names that he'll be calling you through the dialogue that just get more and more absurd, and he delivers it with the same vitriol every time.
Tell me, Rounders.
Hello, Guru. Newsflash, Rounderson. Chestmate, Orb Slinger.
Prepare your flattened brain for spherical truth, Sam.
And this just tickled me. It made me really laugh. The humor hits correct to be in this game. I found the writing a lot better than it was in Borderlands 3 for my own personal sensibilities. On which note, let's move into the gameplay, starting with just a discussion of the open world as a whole. Borderlands has a history of being what I would call semi-open world. It gives you open areas that you can go through with respawning enemies and side quests that give you extra stuff to do while you're moving through the world, but for the most part, it is a pretty linear experience. It expects you to go through at a specific pace, in a specific order. It knows when it expects you to be in each location. Borderlands 4 is truly, properly open world for the first time the series has really had it. It has randomly spawning events that are intriguing and exciting, like this is a Rift Challenge. When you're roaming around the world, you will see these big energy domes covering a large area in front of you. The areas they can spawn in seem to be set, but whether the bubble is there or not when you pass the area is random. When you enter the bubble, a big, healthy, and damaging boss will spawn. If you die or leave the bubble, the boss will simply disappear and you don't get another chance. But if you defeat them without that happening, you will get a nice big pile of loot from them, and you get a bonus chance at a legendary weapon from the reward cache that they'll give you, which I'll explain a little bit more about in a moment. These Rift Challenges are just one example of a number of different randomly occurring dynamic events in the open world that make it interesting and fun to explore even after you've cleared the static content like side quests and stuff like that. And there's even contracts which are sort of like an in-between, where they are things that you have to pick up and objectives you'll have to do, but they do have some sort of randomness and they pull from a pool rather than being things that you can only complete once. And not to get too deep into this one, as I want to leave a lot of the exploration for this up to you as possible, but there are vaults in this game that are completely optional content that you will only find and do by engaging with the open world side activities. They are one of my favorite things to do in the game, and the vaults are definitely worth pursuing. Getting around the open world then feels great. The fast travel system is insanely open and free. You can fast travel from pretty much anywhere at pretty much any time. In multiplayer, you can even fast travel directly to your other party members wherever they are on the map, which is a fantastic touch. When moving shorter distances, you can call out your vehicle anywhere that isn't an indoor space, and even inside of some indoor spaces too, meaning you don't have to look for a catch-a-ride station at any point. You have instant access to the vehicle whenever you want it, and this is an extremely important bit of extra freedom for how vast this open world is, and how dense it is as well. To then condense it down to even shorter distance traversal, all of the new movement mechanics in the game feel great to me. The grapple gun, even with it only grappling to set points, is very fun to use. I recommend turning off the setting in accessibility that forces your camera to move when you grapple, as I do find that to be a bit awkward. And my only other real issue with the grapple is that the grapple button and the melee button are the same input. There is no way that I could find to bind them separately from each other, as they are attached in the keybind menu. So when I was playing melee builds, I frequently found myself accidentally grappling like propane tanks into my hand instead of rocket punching an enemy in the face. So hopefully they can patch that in to be a separate keybind at some point. It's a minor gripe overall, really. The glider is great. I love the dodge function as well. It serves as using like a burst of glider energy, but you can see just watching me move around the world how much I enjoyed all of these new movement options. This really pays off during big boss fights, because the proper boss fights in this game are some of the most engaging fights in the entire Borderlands series. A lot of the big bosses have proper important mechanics that you need to understand or learn, big meaningful telegraphs that make it easy to predict what they are about to do, and every big attack has a way to avoid taking damage from it, either through using the new movement options available to you, like jumping over an attack that is a horizontal spin at ground level, or sliding under an attack that has a limited vertical hitbox. It just feels like you have more control than ever on how you can avoid damage. So survivability is less like a pure stat check than it has been in prior games, and there's a lot more room for skill expression in your moment-to-moment gameplay, past just being able to show that you can hit heads consistently. One other thing that I really liked as far as a gameplay change is that the majority of mission rewards now come in the form of boxes that you can open up from your inventory screen. I found this a lot more convenient to manage. It means for the vast majority of quests, you don't have to actually go in and hand them in anywhere. It's just once you complete the objective, now you have the reward ready to claim from the cache section of your inventory, and it doesn't fill up your bag either, because it does stick in the box until you take it out of the box. It's just a really convenient way for doing this mechanically. And on the note of things like quality of life, you can also pick up weapons as junk, which marks them as junk when you pick them up, which means it's very easy and quick to sell them the moment you hit a vending machine. Just little things like that really make the game more comfortable to spend large amounts of time in. On the equipment and build side of things, I have so many things that I want to say, and they are pretty much entirely positive. When I first wrote this section out, it was about 15 minutes long on its own, and I realized that you probably just don't need quite that much detail just in a review, so I've cut it down to the major impact topics, and I'll go into more detail in other videos for those that want it. And for context, I won't be showing anything past around level 27 as a heads up, as that is when I got the last important gear related mechanic unlocked. That said, I love the way that the weapons have been done for Borderlands 4. There's a comically large amount of potential combinations for weapon parts as per usual, but the way that they've been done in this game is really fun. Every weapon has its base manufacturer, which defines one of its functions. Jakobs guns ricochet shots on critical hits, Torgue guns fire little rockets instead of bullets, stuff like that. Weapons can also spawn with non-specific modifiers that adjust how they work in more minor ways or give them just general buffs, but as you level up higher and higher, you will get weapons that can have multiple licensed parts. The easiest way to explain this is to show you an example. This right here is mass-produced Bolshoi Buzimuz. Yes, the gun names do get hilarious. This is a Vladof assault rifle, and the innate part from that, from Vladof specifically, is the alt fire, the underbarrel shotgun attachment that's listed there. It also has a Jakobs licensed part, which means that this weapon, despite not being a Jakobs weapon inherently, will ricochet bullets from any critical hit, like a Jakobs weapon would. But then it also has a COV licensed part, which is a manufacturer that doesn't exist for base weapons in this game, but you would recognize it from Borderlands 3 if you played that game. It makes a weapon have a technically unlimited magazine size, instead of working on an overheating style mechanic where you have to pause between firing bursts. And this is just one example, but there are plenty of combinations, and you can get some absolutely wacky rolls even just through RNG on purple weapons, not even full-on legendaries. That said, early game weapons will only have one of these parts generally, but the further into the game you get, the higher levels you hit, the more ridiculous combinations you will start to see drop. As for legendaries, I won't show too many because I consider them to be one of the fun things to uncover on your own. Some of them are a little bit underwhelming, maybe, but others are absolute insanity in the best of ways. There are absolutely purple guns in this game that will be stronger than the legendaries, but the legendary weapons are, for the most part, just fun and special and unique, and as far as I'm concerned, that's what they should be. They've reworked the grenade slot as Ordinance slot, that includes other types of heavy weapons, and now those all work off of cooldowns instead of limited ammo count, which is quite fun to play around, honestly. There's the new Rep Kit manual healing item, which also gets modifiers and manufacturer effects and stuff like that. There are enhancements, which replace the old relic or artifact slot, and these are attached to weapons that use parts from the matching manufacturer, and they have some pretty wild varied effects that add a lot of potential to build creation. The shields have some interesting new modifiers, as well as the addition of an overshield mechanic in the game, which functions exactly how it sounds, bonus shields that you can get above your maximum, and there are also armor shields as a whole different type of shield that is just new in Borderlands 4, where the shield amount is broken up into a number of segments, and instead of only recharging after you've avoided damage for a set period of time, there is a constantly regenerating filling bar on top of your shield bar, and every time the bar fills up, you gain one segment back of armor. The idea of these is that they are more reliable for people who are constantly taking damage, as opposed to those who can find cover to regenerate, and I think they're just an awesome addition to the game. More options are always good. The final slot is for class mods, not a new thing to the series by any means. They give you bonus points in various passive nodes from your skill tree, and then an assortment of stat bonuses too, all focused around a sort of theme. All of these 5 slots on the bottom can also roll with firmware, which is a new mechanic that is essentially set bonuses, if you are familiar with that type of mechanic from other RPGs. Shared random roll bonuses, where the more pieces that share the same bonus, the more of that bonus you will get. These can vary from things like increased damage with melee, increased action skill damage, or increased ordnance cooldown rate. There's even some that cause offensive damaging effects too. There's a pretty wide variety of things that you can do with it. These won't start appearing until you reach the mid-game at least, but they are another interesting new layer for build creation. That said, each of the Vault Hunters feels great for their own gameplay style options. Some of the action skills and skill trees definitely don't quite hit their stride until you reach the second tier augments around level 16. Others feel great right out of the gate, but once you actually have points to work with, once you have a larger selection of gear you can choose from, you can make any skill and any skill tree extremely powerful and very much worth using. The augments all have a noticeable impact on your overall gameplay with each skill, and the branches and capstones add even more customization to the skills. On the note of the Vault Hunters, I also really liked their personalities. I spent the most time around Amon and Vex, but also I spent a good bit of time as Harlow too, and they each have their own unique quirkiness that I find adorable, but Amon will always and forever be my favorite. He has some unbelievably funny line deliveries, but also a deep capacity for emotion and intelligence as well. The difficulty really sort of moves in waves through the game. I would say as a baseline, it's more challenging than previous games in the series, and having a hard mode to play even in the initial story playthrough is a nice extra layer for those who don't mind some extra challenge in exchange for some better loot. But everything entirely depends on your randomness, your RNG during your first playthrough. If you get a good gun drop, it can carry you for the next few levels, or you can also get power spikes through your actual skill tree as well. The game will feel like there are waves to it. Sometimes it will feel tough, sometimes it will feel easy, and it's mostly based on how good the quality of gear that you are finding is. There's also stuff like the boss replay mechanic, the machines that let you respawn any boss way easier than you could in prior games in the series. It does cost a little bit of cash, and then after you kill them, you can immediately loop back and respawn them again, making it really easy to farm bosses for dedicated drops, which for those who don't know are how you farm for specific legendaries. As for the graphics and such, it has that classic Borderlands art style, unmistakably the typical theme that the games have had, but it looks much more like crisp than the prior games. The flip side of that conversation is of course performance. I've not played on console myself, I've not really heard anything particularly negative from those who have. PC is where the bulk of the conversation will be centered around. This is a game that runs on Unreal Engine 5, and UE5 games tend to be quite CPU intensive. All of us on the channel are running quite high-end computers, as this is what we do for a living, and two of us have had minimal or no performance issues, but Hollow ran into some shader loading related stutters every time that he was walking into a new area, which is definitely an irritating issue. It's definitely a problem, but it is something that the devs have very specifically stated will be fixed at least a little bit in the day one patch, as well as a number of other issues. So I am hopeful that that will be the case and that will be ironed out. The general gameplay seems to be relatively smooth, but some people are just having a lot of issues with this shader loading during gameplay issue. And so especially if you have a mid or low end PC, I would maybe wait a little bit until after release and see how the day one patch is treating people, and I really do hope that that will be fixed, because this game is a lot of fun, and I would hate for optimization issues to be something that turns people away and prevents them from playing it. The sound design in this game is great. All the guns sound awesome. The sound effects, even of just like general movement and traversal, are all high quality and varied and add to the atmosphere of the game. The soundtrack is absolutely killer, especially some of the music that plays during combat and during bosses is just incredible. I am a massive fan of the music for Borderlands 4. As far as the co-op experience specifically, there are few co-op experiences in gaming at all that I enjoy more than a Borderlands game, and Borderlands 4 is no exception to this rule. It's very solid. Though I will make the note that when I played co-op, and I was not the person who was the host, but a secondary player, I then later launched into the same save solo, and the only fast travel points that I could see on my map were the ones that I had already loaded into while solo. Anything that I found while in the other player's party needed to be walked back to actually see on my map or to actually interact with as far as a fast travel point, but everything was still completed. So it's just a little bit of an oversight, I think, that I hope that they will fix sooner rather than later. Then past this, there is a million just smaller changes in the game that I am a really big fan of, but don't feel like you really want to listen to me drone on about here. Like how the storage deck upgrades, the SDUs, your maximum ammo count for each weapon type, stuff like that, are now done through their own unique currency that you don't spend on anything else. And the way that you get that currency is mostly by interacting with side content, which then makes side content even more rewarding. Or the fact that there is a challenge system that tracks a bunch of different stats and stuff and gives you actual meaningful rewards for reaching various thresholds on the stats, varying from randomly rolled weapons to character customization options to full-on different statistical loadout options for your vehicle itself. On the whole, the game feels like they had one mandate in mind, and it was fun. It's not a perfect 10 out of 10, there's holes, there's low points and high points, there's bugs, but the gameplay strikes a chord with me. It just feels so intuitive and enjoyable all around. The changes to how equipment works, the increased depth of the skills and build possibilities, it's all stuff stuff that I absolutely adore. The story is, again, my second favorite story of any of the games in the series, only behind Borderlands 2, but even then, story is subjective. And I think these side quests are an awesome experience on top of that too. But if you are someone who has liked any of the previous Borderlands games, I think you will definitely enjoy Borderlands 4. If you're on the fence about the game, maybe just like a passing interest, I hope some of the larger details that I've been able to show you and talk about in this video will help you work out if the game is going to be for you or not. That pretty much does it for today then, everyone, my general review for Borderlands 4, and there will be plenty of videos covering like every facet of the game coming out on this channel over the coming days and weeks, so if there's anything specific you want to know about in more detail, or maybe even have its own dedicated video, let us know down in the comments below. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time,
I'm the conductor of the poop train!
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.